Okay, so today I would like to speak about how to be less stressed and anxious, and it is our coronavirus edition. And today we will be talking about some tips and tricks and practical ways how you can work on your resilience. And I will explain this term in a second. So if you would like to know how to have a stronger resilience during these anxious and stressful times of coronavirus pandemic, please stay tuned and listen to us and give us some likes. So all of us know that stress has a lot of effects on our body, and we are continuously living in a potential very risky situation in our life. If we look at how stress works on our body, we can see that it begins from a chemical reaction in the brain and the nerves. We can feel headaches, feelings of despair, lack of energy, sadness, nervousness, anger, irritability, trouble in concentrating, memory problems, difficulty in sleeping, mental health disorders like anxiety attacks or panic attacks, depression, etc. If it goes for our heart, our heart starts to beat faster due to the constant dosage of adrenaline. We can feel some palpitations, rise in blood pressure, increased risk of high cholesterol and heart attack. If it goes for stomach, everyone knows that after a long time you can have some problems with some nausea, stomach aches, weight gain, increased or decreased appetite. And then we have our pancreas, which can lead to an increased risk of diabetes, #1 killer right now. If it goes for intestines, we can have some diarrhea, constipation, and other digestive problems. And even it can affect our reproductive organs. For women, it can be an irregular or painful periods, reduced sexual desire, and for men, impotence, low sperm production, reduced sexual desires. There are also other wide known for science problems of severe long exposure to stress, which is axine and other skin problems, muscle aches, tension, increased risk for low bone density and weakened immune system, making it harder to fight off or to recover from illness. So as we can see, there is a variety and a huge range of problems. And most of us, we are in a constant feeling of stress and we are not even aware of it. Because once we get a little bit peaceful and relaxed, we feel like there's something wrong with us and we have to do something, do some action. And actually, many of us cannot recognize anymore when is the state where we are actually relaxing and when is the state when we are actually in stress. So the first thing we have to see is we have to be aware of the stresses that is in our body and see some of the beginning symptoms like the heartbeat, palpitation, our anxiety or lack of sleep, or maybe you can feel lack of appetite. This can be some symptoms that can show you that your body has too much stress. So when we are already aware of having stress inside our body, there are 3 things that we can do with it. The first one is ventilation. We can be nagging, we can be criticizing, we can be saying how difficult it is for us in our life, how bad job is the government doing with this and that, how many people are doing so many mistakes, etc., etc. So in this way, we can ventilate the energy that is building in our body through our vocal through just speaking. Another thing we can do is we can keep it inside. We may just try to keep all this irritation, anger, fear, or any other negative emotions that are inside, that are being produced, and we can just store it. And this will lead to even faster and more severe damage of our internal organs. And the first and the most simple thing is simply get rid of it. We have to understand how to, once we are aware of stress, once we are aware how dangerous it is our body, then we have the motivation and the knowledge how to start fighting with it. So let's find a nice way how to get rid of stress and anxiety in our life. And this thing that can help you is called resilience. Resilience comes from the Latin word resilio, and it means actually to bounce back, like a ball that can bounce back from a wall. So this ability is the ability to, after having any kind of difficulty in our life, any kind of breakdown, any problem, to rise up again and continue with the same or even stronger motivation that we had before. As we know, there are many famous people who imbibe this mood of resilience. And I would like to introduce you to one of such persons. So this mysterious person, maybe you can guess who is it, said, there are only two forces in the world, the sword and the spirit. In the long run, the sword will always be conquered by the spirit. So it is very important for us to strengthen our spirit, to strengthen our mentality, and to do that, we will learn soon about some practical steps how to do it. But before that, it is important to understand that the mind is more powerful than the matter. And who was that? Who said this famous quote? It was Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte, a famous general, a famous emperor of the French Empire in the beginning of the 19th century. And he actually, he led many wars. He was a very successful politician, but sooner or later, all of us, we may find some problems and hurdles in our life. And in 1814, Napoleon was defeated and he was sent to an island called Elba with about 1,000 of his people who were supporting him. And he lived on this small island. And from being an emperor, he became a governor of an island. And one could say that such a degradation for someone who had that vision to rule the whole Europe is some kind of a failure or defeat. But Napoleon, he was resilient and he bounced back. And 10 months later, he came back to France and he was welcomed by the citizens with open hands, and he reclaimed the position of the ruler till 1821. So for over the next 7 years, after he was finally defeated by the Alliance forces in 1821 by the famous Battle of Waterloo, and later he was sent to the island of Saint Helena, where he spent the rest of his life. But anyway, we can see that Napoleon, he had many stress in his life, anxiety, and even though that he had so many difficulties and hurdles, he passed all of them, and he again and again rised up and performed his duties. Sometimes it's not about winning, but it's about showing that you have the spirit to continue doing what you believe you want to do. Here we have another quote by another famous person. Maybe you'll be able to tell us who is this. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. And such a beautiful quote was said by Nelson Mandela. So Nelson Mandela is a politician from South Africa. He was also the president of South Africa. But before that, when he was fighting with the regime and with apartheid and with racism in his own country, he was put into jail, where he spent 27 years in jail, sometimes in inhumane facilities, where he was sleeping in a cell which was 2.7 meters on 2.4 meters size, where he didn't have any friends. He was sitting in isolation for many months, and he was able to send a letter every 6 months. And of course, his letters were censored. So one can understand, in such an adverse conditions, after 27 years of living in different various prisons and being beaten, being mentally abused, such a person would never be able to regain his composure. But Nelson Mandela, not only he was corresponding with the whole world and learning, he finished a university during his time in the prison. After that, when he came out from the prison in 1994, he became the president of South Africa. So that's another person who can show us that it is never too late to try and try again. Sometimes we may think that we are here on the coronavirus and we have to spend few months in isolation and we don't have enough toilet paper. What to speak about Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in a real prison without his family. So resilience is something that we can compose of three elements. Of course, they're interlining with each other. The first element is physical. So it means our vitality, it means our strength, our health, everything that is connected with the biology and biochemistry of our body, our genes, of course. Some people are born with higher levels of resilience, and some people can build up during their life. It's a life skill, so everyone can learn how to be more resilient, but some, of course, are naturally more resilient also due to the environment they were born. So if you were born in a more adverse environment and you had to always fight for your life and to cope up with stress, this allows person to have higher levels of resilience. The second one is mental platform. So here comes our self-awareness, our self-acceptance, our levels of gratitude. How do we see the world? We'll be speaking about this part the most, because I believe it is the part which is most important. Going a little bit back, of course, if it goes for physical and resilience, the more healthy your body is, the better. So of course, any kind of diet, exercise, all of these things also help to cope up with stress and having a better levels of resilience. But in this seminar, I would like to focus on mental platform. And if you would like me to speak about other topics, other parts about the physical, diet, or the social elements, please leave a comment and I would love to make a video for you about this thematic. So if it goes for the mental platform, it is the way how we perceive the world. It is our beliefs that we have constructed during our life, the ones that we constructed subconsciously, and the ones that we construct now in the present, and the one that we will construct in the future. And the last, and of course not the least, is the social elements. So how do we build friendship with other people? How do we build relationships in our family? How do we cope? How do we communicate? And how do we cope in big groups? Do we like to be in groups? Do we like to be in small groups? Maybe we like to be alone. All of this are allowing us to have a higher or a level of resilience. Going to the word over there, down there, it's in Polish, it should be in English, it's resilience, in Polish, sprężystość. So those are the components of the resilience that one should look if it goes especially on the mental and social platform. So our self-worth, how do you value yourself? What do you think of yourself? How do you work on your image, that you actually understand yourself, understand your shortcomings? Do you understand your strengths? All of those are life skills that we should be at least aware of, and later with proper tools we can build our self-worth. Of course, the best way to do it is to have many small tasks in our life and slowly accomplish them. For instance, like people train in self-discipline. Every day I sit straight for 10 minutes. And if you do it for 1 month and every day you sign, yes, I did it, you're building your portfolio of successes. And then, for instance, oh, I went to this job, I got this job, I decided to make this project and my project won. Then I got money for this, I helped this person cross the street, etc. The small accomplishments, they are all building our self-image. And at the same time, how do we cope if we don't, if one of these small accomplishments will become a small failure? So a non-critical mind will be a very useful to have in our life, not to criticize ourselves for making any small mistakes and not to criticize other people. And the third component will be not to criticize the world as it is. These three components, they create a practical canvas for living. How to forgive yourself, how to forgive others, and how to forgive the world. If you wish, I can create a very nice presentation. I was learning about this in a very nice system. It's called Perfect Life Process. It's a very nice program that helps people to work with their regrets in life, and to have a non-critical mind, and to have a practical mind that is using constructive critique. So something that, rather than criticize someone because I'm envious, to criticize because it has a purpose and is practical. Mindfulness is all the thing that is connected with meditation, with working with your body, yoga, wellness, taking care of your mind and taking care of other people. It's a very broad term, and this term is, for me, it meant working like meditation. That's what I would mainly be focusing on. That for me would be the best part of mindfulness. Working with mantras, it's a very nice, with sound vibration, or for instance, horse therapy, very beautiful things. I did it personally and I recommend to everyone. Emotional intelligence, emotional reactions. How do you react to your emotions? How do you work with your emotions? Do you recognize that your emotions are part of you, or do you recognize that you are actually an observer of your emotions? How do you cope with your emotions? Do you think that all the emotions are good? Are there bad emotions? So all of this we can learn in emotional intelligence. If any of these topics is interesting for you, today I'm giving you a small summary, but if you would like, we can deep dive into any of this, and I can give you some practical examples and practical exercises how to do it. Crisis planning. So you have to cope with stress, you have to have a problem, you have to have some kind of strategy. If a stressful situation comes in your life, how you're gonna deal with it. The easiest way to do it is to actually imagine a situation like this. Imagine a situation that someone comes to you and he wants to fight with you, verbally or physically. How will you react? Have you ever thought of a situation like this? Do you think it is something that you don't need? I also thought like this until someone beat me on the street or said someone not bad to me. And later, when it happened second or the third time, I already reacted differently. I already was less in a panic mode, and I was more in a like, oh yeah, I know how does it feel. I can do that, go the same path like I did last time, or I can try something new, or I can even try something that I already prepared before. So that would be crisis planning. It's a very important, nice skill. You can sit sometimes and make a small diary and look how you react today. There is one very nice exercise. I call it the ABC. So there was any kind of stimulus that you didn't like. For instance, someone made you angry because they didn't clean the dishes again. And then this is the stimulus. Then the B, this is A. The B will be the thought. What was the thought in your head that created the reaction C that you liked or didn't like? So let's say the A will be dirty dishes left by your spouse. B would be the thought in my head, why does he do it again? I told him many times not to do it. It makes me irritated to repeat myself. And C, finally, I go and I shout at him and say, again and again, you're doing the same and the same. So then you write in your diary, okay, A, the dishes were dirty. B, my thoughts. Well, my thoughts were also correct. He didn't do it again. But do I have to be attached that someone didn't listen to me again? Is it just not some kind of a program that if someone doesn't do what I do, someone is not controlled by me, someone is not following my advices, I have to get angry? Rather than get angry, I can, for instance, I can just repeat myself, or I can try a different approach rather than shouting at someone, because that, as we know, that usually doesn't help. What helps the best is to give good example and to be patient, and at the same time, just to give time to another person. That usually is the best that works. Flexibility. One has to be flexible in his ideas. One has to be flexible to change. It's not like that we know everything in the world and all of the beliefs that we have right now are correct, and that we have to always defend what we believe in and always defend all the small things that we build in our mind and deny anyone that would say that actually it is not true. So try to be flexible with your thoughts, with your motivation, and Try to learn new things and see the things from a different perspective. And this the later goes relationship with other. How do we build our relationships with other? How do we communicate? How do we value relationships? Do we need relationships with other people? Or perhaps are we just happy the way it is? Some people need it more, some people need less, but one should at least understand where is he at this moment of his life, because it can change in the future. Higher values. By higher values, people usually mean some kind of a spiritual goal, like for instance, serving God, serving humanity, or having a business that help people, or achieving your life passion and life goals. So these higher values, they give you the resilience to understand that, like for instance, Thomas Edison, famous inventor, he wanted to invent the light bulb because he wanted to invent the light bulb to help the people. So even though he had so many hundreds of mistakes creating different light bulbs which exploded, because his higher value was to help the people and to be a brilliant inventor, he finally did it. So let us a little bit deeper into the resilience and how does it work. So it is the way how we think and the way how we observe the world is actually the beginning of our resilience. It is how do we, some people, for instance, they will see more harmony. Like for instance, they will see that, oh, this actually goes well together with that. And other people will have a more critical mind and they will see, oh, this is wrong, this doesn't go well with that. So some people, for instance, depending what they are looking in life, they will only see beautiful blue skies, the fresh air, and other people will just be like, oh, it's so boring, nothing is happening. And some people will say like, oh no, this fresh air I don't like, I would rather go to a room where there's a lot of dark smoke and I can smoke cigarettes, and there you feel happy. So this is how our brain is triggered. What are we looking for in our life? This would be the way we are thinking and then understanding. And from that understanding will come a particular emotion, a feeling, and then a particular action. The second, yes, the second level is perception. So first of all, we see the things we want to see with our cognition, and then we analyze things differently than any other person. You know from experience that there are 10 people, they see the same thing, but everyone describes it differently. Someone describes, you know, this lady, she was so full emotion of this during the situation. Then there's a person will be more focused on the clothing, and he would say, the lady was so beautifully dressed when she was exposing her emotions. And the third person, he'd be like, yeah, there were just two girls and, you know, they were crying, I don't know, some strange thing. And, you know, they are clearly they were overreacting. So the perception will be different depending on the person. And the third and last part will be action, how we react. So one person will criticize, another person will glorify, third person will be neutral. So it all depends on the levels before. It all depends on our perception, and it all depends on our cognition. What are we looking for? So in training resilience, when one comes into a difficult situation, every person will look at it differently. And here there's a very nice training that can help us to, first of all, have a better cognition and perception. And because of that, we have a better action. So write in a notebook or on a piece of paper some kind of difficult situations that you have in your life. It can be statements, and for that statements, try to find a solution or a positive alternative. I'm going to give you an example. I have financial problems. Positive, that's a negative. Positive alternative. I have the opportunity to ask people for help and learn more about managing my finances and learn more about how to well manage finances. So that's an opportunity to gain a new knowledge, and we have even the motivation to actually dig deeper. And many people from this, they actually starts from rags to riches. Another very, very down to earth example. There's a lot of dirty dishes in the sink. What does it mean? That there was a lot of people and friends who came for a very wonderful party, and I was very happy to cook it for them and serve for them. So it all depends how we perceive the situation. Abraham Lincoln, one time he said that two people can look at a bush of roses, and one will look and they will say that, look at this bush full of beautiful red flowers, and the other person will look and only see a bush full of thorns. So in this way, by writing different so-called negative situations, you may find positive alternatives of the same situation, and this will help you to have a more resilient mind, which actually doesn't always see problem as something that is trying to destroy you, kill you, minimize you, but an opportunity. It is our perception of the stimulus that make us feel the negative emotions. Once we change the perception of the stimulus, then we can actually start to live in a very different life. Because as you can understand, a lot of us would like success, would like money, would like position. But as more success you have in your life, as a higher position you have in your life, the more stress and anxiety you have to deal with. Are you ready for that? Are you prepared for this kind of level of living? Are you prepared? And what happens? So many people, they became famous rock stars, movie stars, and they committed suicide. They couldn't bear the stress. They are positive, of course. There's a lot of who bear the stress. Like, for instance, the Beatles, George Harrison. He became a multi-millionaire and the famous person in the world. And what? And he became a humanitarian. He had a spiritual master, a guru. He was preaching about spirituality. He was giving back to people, but also because he had a clear understanding how to deal with emotions with people. He was a wonderful person. I recommend you his biography, which I read, very nice. And in this way, he had the coping mechanisms how to behave differently. So let's move on. This we can also add some ice topping to the things that it is nice to focus in our lives. We should accept the fact that our beliefs create emotions, thoughts which create actions, and well-being, the perceptions that we're talking about, how we react to the stimulus. Acknowledging stress and be willing to effectively cope with it. Yes. Being open to changes and flexible while adapting to new situations. A lot of us think that changes is something that is taking away our freedom, but change is something inevitable. In my video about time, you can understand that change is one of the things that is actually good, because we know that change is something that will happen and we should prepare for it. Accepting the truth that by changing the way we react to stress, a lot of difference can be made. I think it speaks for itself. Embracing the self by building self-compassion and empathy. Of course, what I'm saying right now may not work for you immediately. Many times we will react immediately according to our habits, and we will do things we don't want to do. But to build a new habit, one needs between 40 to 2 years, 3 years. So don't think that building habits is something that comes immediately. It depends on many factors. And if it goes for building habits, there are seminars which you can watch for hours and hours explaining the small detailed buildings of habits. But the idea is that once you start on the process of building a new habit, there will be fall downs, but don't get discouraged, because slowly, that's how the brain works. The brain will start to appreciate the habit, and then it will go and it will work automatically. So be self-compassionate to yourself, give yourself empathy, and if you don't react to a stimulus immediately positively or see it as a challenge, don't worry. Write it in diary, try next time. I also prepared for you, and this is based on a very nice book prepared by Dr. Harry Barry. He wrote a book about emotional resilience. And in this book, he recommends to make a sheet of questions is questionnaires you can prepare by yourself. This is examples. I myself, I have a questionnaire that I do once a week, and it consists about 50 different questions. I didn't want to post so many questions, so I choose about 10 that I think are very nice. And you can ask yourself these questions when you feel yourself down, or where you feel yourself high and up, or just once a week on a scheduled time to see where you are right now. So, first statement, I trust myself. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm proud of my achievements from this week, for instance. I have the power to overcome difficulties. I have people who love me. I can handle criticism. I am respectful towards myself and others. I enjoy being part of a community. I am aware of my strengths and my weaknesses. I focus on solutions more than problems. I love my life. After that, I made a small scoring, and then I wrote a message to myself, and it's a personalized message that I made for myself, and you can make also one if you want. So 0 to 15, that's not a high mark. Take a deep breath and give yourself time. Work with self-acceptance and acceptance of other people. Don't be impatient, just continue. Rather than trying to discourage myself and saying, well, your score is quite low, it could be much better, son. It is better to say the things that I did good and just say like, hey, come on, you're on a good path, just continue doing it. And then the second part, 16 to 30 points. You're on a good path to be a more peaceful and more loving version of yourself. Good job. 31 to 50. You're like a wildfire. You're burning, man. You can see the effects of working with yourself. Keep it on. And in this way, one can write some small messages for himself to help him in the moments where they need this motivation, or to keep on the motivation. Speaking about words starting with M, meditation is something I love to do. Meditation is something that allowed me to have much more higher levels of resilience, to see things from different perspective, and to allow my body biologically to reset itself and its autonomic nervous system. There is a very nice meditation, which is a meditation which is compared to our sleep. It's called the 6-6-6. So let's try it. You take a deep breath for 6 seconds. You keep it in for 6 seconds. And then you breathe out for 6 seconds. Try like this for about 5 to 10 minutes, and you will see amazing, wonderful results. Your body will feel much more healthy, alive. You'll be you'll be able to focus, and it even allows sometimes for me to heal my headache. So it's a very nice meditation, and I really you can do it anywhere and anytime. You can even speak with someone and just do a 6-6-6 meditation. I'm planning to make a video about meditation, where I would like to present you different kinds of meditation. So if you like video like this, please give me a like and a comment, and I would love to prepare it. There is also vitamin G. We need enough of vitamins G in our life to actually be much more resilient than we are right now. And what is the mystical vitamin G? Is it the blue pill from Matrix? Haha, no. The vitamin G is vitamin gratitude. So if you remember in the beginning of the presentation, we were speaking about how stress affects your body, and I was giving you the list like a doctor, a little bit like a machine. And during that time, a lot of cholesterol and a lot of cortisol and a lot of adrenaline is putting into our body, and these two components, they are good, but if we have too much on our body, these chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline, our body starts to work not so correctly. So there is a much more better solution for that, and that is gratitude. And it is proven by science that a person who actually is in a state of gratitude starts to lower their levels of cortisol with a hormone which is called DHIA. And this DHIA is actually helping to restore your immune system, helps you in your bone density, adjust your mood, even repairs your DNA, helps in so many things. It is helping to minimize the levels of cortisol in your body, which is also called the hormone of defeat, just by being in a state of gratitude. But to be in a state of gratitude is not just being like, everything is good, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. This doesn't work like this. It is connected with what we were speaking before. So once you understand that the stimulus is there, stress is there, you have to change the way how you perceive it. You may use the meditation technique to relax a little bit down, the 666, and then to perceive the stress reactor, and to rather see it as a problem, see it as a challenge, and ask yourself, how does this situation help me? How does this situation help me to grow, to become a better person? What is it teaching me? How this experience is making my life better? How can I grow from it? If you answer these questions and truly live with them, you will feel a gratitude for this situation, and it allows you to become a stronger, more better version of yourself. And this means you properly digested the vitamin G, and it will produce these hormones of feeling good and amazing about yourself. That, you know, this feeling when you did a good job, it's like, it's such a wonderful feeling, like, I did it, I did this good job. It releases all this good positive vibration, emotions, and hormones in your body, which allows us to be more happy. So today we were speaking about resilience. We were speaking about practical ways how to build resilience in your life. We give some practical examples and also exercises that you can try on your own. I would like to finish and leave you with a very wonderful quote. Nothing is more difficult and therefore more precious than to be able to decide. So let us decide, what do we want in our life? Let us make the proper decision and start to be a better version of ourselves. Let's try to work with our stress. Let's try to have a more higher levels of resilience. And because of our proper decision, we'll be the most happy version of ourselves. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe us, leave us some comments, give us some likes, and tell us, what do you think about this video? Would you like more videos about this thematic? What thematic would you like I would prepare for you? Thank you very much for subscribing us till now, for giving us likes and sharing the love. All the best, and see you around.